Hello and welcome to the NEOS webinar, Bridging the Gap, Connecting Your Project to Real Business Value. We've seen numerous projects in trouble because of a separation that develops at some point after kickoff. The project takes on a life of its own and the original business reasons are downplayed as project milestones are hit. This webcast outlines one approach that we find has worked effectively to reground and reset projects, ensuring continued funding and corporate support. Project teams, immersed in their day-to-day activities, begin to chart progress against planned milestones, generating colorful heat maps, issue logs, and pages of PowerPoint slides. Business stakeholders wonder what happened to the business benefits that got the project approved in the first place. Or worse, stakeholders may start to dismiss the truly remarkable project accomplishments as unimportant because the link between project tasks and the value being delivered has gone missing. Long story short, there is a disconnect between the what and the why. In this webcast, you'll hear about NEOS' plan for these scenarios, called the Business-Value Linkage model. This model ensures a tight alignment between what a project team does and the business rationale for doing it. We developed the Business-Value Linkage model to help a client who was 4 years into a custom system implementation and had rolled out very little in the way of functionality. Over the course of the 4 years, their market had shifted and key stakeholders had moved on, resulting in muddled priorities, unclear objectives, and useless metrics. The gap between what the project team was doing and why they were doing it threatened to cost this client millions of dollars. There was no apparent linkage between the system deliverables and the business's goals. They called us to help them reestablish their business case. We built the model out in 3 stages. Crafting statements of business value that answer the question, what do we expect to get out of this effort in business terms? Defining performance indicators that answer the question, how will we know when we get that value? Identifying metrics and measures that answer the question, how will we prove the value is real? We mapped their user stories and requirements to the model. For other clients, we've mapped specific project milestones, funding requests, system functionality, and more. So how do you go about creating this alignment, and what might the model look like? Constructing statements of business value brings together cross-functional business leaders to discuss, brainstorm, and envision. It's important to have cross-functional representation to answer the question, what would make the investment in this initiative worthwhile for you and your organization? It's also important to insist that the statements are written in purely business terms. As a general rule of thumb, plan to have 3 to 5 value statements that align with an overall vision statement for the program. In reality, the effort to construct value statements involves a round of interviews, some group discussion to debrief the outcomes, and several iterations on statements to refine the wording. Once you have solid business value statements, move on to answer the question, how will I know if and when that business value is delivered? Answering this question yields the performance indicators you'll use to track actual return on investment. For this example, the client generated 2 responses. We will respond more quickly to regulatory inquiries. There will be a reduction in audit findings. Metrics and measures are the detailed needles that will move positively or negatively as project milestones roll out. For each indicator, select the best 2 or 3 measures. You can see here the sorts of detailed metrics and measures that this client associated with their 2 indicators. It's important to establish baselines and targets for the metrics you choose so that you can clearly see progress or lack thereof over time. At this point in the process, we've gathered a lot of insight as to why you're investing in the project and how you'll measure results. It's time to bring all this information together into an easily digestible and understood model. This is a very simple way to illustrate the alignment of value to indicators to metrics. Clients can and should customize this, perhaps setting interim targets for a project with a long duration. Once you have this model constructed, review each project milestone, piece of functionality, user story or requirement, and ask yourself, does this milestone move the needle on any of these metrics? Or in other words, does this piece of functionality reduce the time someone will have to spend preparing a detailed regulatory response? If the answer is yes, that milestone ties to this business value. Going forward, use this link to report status. If there's an issue, rather than commenting on development times or code quality, express the impact in business value terms. This type of model sets you up to report project status in a business context that your stakeholders and sponsors will understand. It gives extra meaning to technical delays when you can add, and so there will be a delay in how quickly we can reduce the number of significant audit findings per quarter. Getting back to the client with the 4-year custom system implementation, after we constructed their business value linkage model, we mapped hundreds of user stories and features. The resulting analysis showed how far the project had drifted from original scope, highlighting gaps in the planned business value and surfacing how many unfunded requirements had already been built out. The client refocused their team and regrounded the project in the business value. At last check, the project was more productive than ever, deep in development on high priority sprints, and actively engaging the business community. By applying this model, we've helped various clients rescue a $25 million multi-year compliance program, accelerate a stalled admin system replacement project, and obtain funding for additional scope items that were missed during original planning activities. If you recognize your project in any of these descriptions, or if you're planning a project now, the business value linkage model might be just what you're looking for. Thank you for listening to this NEOS webcast. For more information on how the business value linkage model works, please download our white paper, The Missing Link, available on our website at www.neosllc.com under Insights. You'll find additional information there on a whole variety of topics. We hope you found this webcast helpful and interesting. Thanks for listening.